bytes. So in this way, symmetric cipher could be divided into block cipher and stream cipher. Well, let's talk from the modern block cipher. Why we talk about the block cipher first of all? Because the block cipher is one of the most widely used type of cryptographic algorithms. And the modern block cipher could provide secrecy as well as authentication services. Modern block cipher are widely used to provide encryption of quantity information or the cryptographic checksum to ensure the authentication of the message to prevent the content from being altered. And we continue to use the block cipher because they are comparatively fast and because we know a fair amount about how to design the modern block cipher. So later, we're going to focus on the modern block cipher containing DES and AES. This is the specific definition of block cipher and stream cipher. Well, block cipher processes messages in blocks, each of which is then encrypted or decrypted. Like the substitution of very large characters such as 64 bits or 128 bits or more. So this is block cipher. Stream cipher processes messages a bit or byte at one time when encrypting or decrypting. Well, many current ciphers are block ciphers. 我没有共享 PPT 吗？哦，共享屏幕吗？啊？你没有提醒我。没有，我是看到你的啊，对呀对呀，我的天呐，这个我感觉这个 Zoom 真的是有问题。看到第几页？还是第一页？是这个目录吗？不知道它第5页去了。哦，我要疯了。我感觉这个东西。Okay. These are definitions about block cipher and stream cipher. Example of symmetric block cipher. Well, block cipher works on block or word at a time, which is some number of bits. All of these bits have to be available before the block can be processed. Well, symmetric cipher works on bits or bytes at a time, hence process it as a stream. Block cipher are currently better analyzed and seem to have a broader range of application. Now I want to ask you, which one do you think has a broader range in reality, block cipher or stream cipher? Which cipher do you think has broader range of application? Block cipher or stream cipher? Stream cipher, block cipher, different answers. Well, let me tell you. Well, block cipher has a broader range in almost commercial applications. Well, stream cipher has a respectively broader range of application in the field of diplomacy and military. Oh, huh. Am I clear? Let's move on. Well, we know that in stream cipher, the plain text and the ciphertext are the same length, as well as the key. So we have the same length of ciphertext, plain text, and the key. Because the stream cipher is encrypted by bits using exclusive OR calculation. So in the system of stream cipher, both ciphertext and the plain text and the key have an identical length. Therefore, stream cipher has both advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are no delay, and fast speed. The disadvantage is that the key is too long. Which is not convenient for the key distribution and key delivery and storage. So symmetric encryption is essentially based on block. Which has a broader range of application, as we just mentioned. Symmetric encryption is essentially a table lookup. And the key is just the code for replacement table. Let's take a look. We assume that the plain text message is divided into 3 blocks. Here are block 1, 2, and 3. Ciphertext as C1, C2, and C3. 3 blocks. Well, the keys for replacement, which have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 totally, and the mapping equations look like that. That's C equals EKM, M equals DKC. So that is to say, if we consider 3 blocks of plain text and 3 blocks of ciphertext, then how many mapping replacement, how many kind of replacement do we have? How many kind of replacement do we have? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the number of substitution table is the factorial of 3, that is 6. Factorial of 3, that is 6. How many keys do we have? 6. So here's, in this example, key stands for the replacement table or substitution table. Well, let me introduce this ideal block cipher structure. Almost all kinds of block cipher now used nowadays are based on this kind of structure. And this structure is known as fatal structure. The fatal refers to an n bits general substitution as an ideal block. substitutions within this structure, 4 bits. So 2 to the power 4, that is 16 possible values. And as for the output, the same. What we should care about is how many mapping substitutions. As for this picture, 0 is represented by 14. 1 is represented by 4. So through this way, we are able to map. We are able to map from the input data to the output data by using the substitution structure, such as this one. So a 4-bit input produces one of 16 possible input status, which is mapped by substitution cipher into a unique one of 16 possible output codes, each of which is represented by 4 ciphertext bits. Are you clear? Are you clear about this structure? And how do we substitute? How do we substitute? It's based on the tabulation, this tabulation. Okay. Because a tiny 4-bit substitution to show that each possible input can be arbitrarily mapped into any output, which is why the complexity grows so rapidly. Okay. If I send this document to you, you will try to understand. I think it takes time. It doesn't matter because most of people cannot understand at the first time, especially when we talk about so many terms, so many, topology. So if you've got this material, I think what you need is just time. You're welcome. Let's move on. Just now we mentioned about Festo. Always remember this name. The full name of Festo is Horst Festo. He was a very famous physicist and a cryptanalyst. He is a German. Festo cipher structure just look like that previous picture. The most symmetric block cipher are based on this Festo cipher structure. Well, Festo's cipher structure is mainly about substitution, transposition, and product. What is product? Remember what is product? A product cipher is indeed a mixture or combination of substitution and permutation. So we call it product. It's a mixture or combination of transposition and substitution. Well, Festo cipher structure is based on a famous paper that is expounded by Claude Shannon, who introduced the idea of substitution or permutation networks in the year of 1949. This is a famous conception as well as one of the fundamental concepts that was used in our symmetric block cipher. Claude Shannon's 1949 paper has the key or fundamental idea that led the development of modern block cipher. And this paper formed the basic of modern block cipher. The key conception of this paper is SPNet, which is short for substitution and permutation network. SPNet are based on the two primitive cryptographic operations seen before, substitution and permutation. Well, substitution is achieved by S-box. Permutation is achieved by P-box. Both of them could provide confusion and diffusion of message and key. Well, critically, it was technique of laying groups of S-boxes separated by larger P-boxes to form SPNet, which is a complex form of a product cipher. Well, he also introduced the idea of confusion and diffusion, which are also worthy of note. The terms of confusion and diffusion were introduced by Claude Shannon to capture the two basic building blocks for any cryptographic system. And computational secure cipher based on the idea of confusion and diffusion. Every block cipher involves a transformation of a block of plain text into a block of ciphertext, where the transformation depends on the key. Diffusion, let's take a look. Diffusion refers to spreading influence of one plain text letter to many ciphertext letters. Well, confusion refers to make relationship between ciphertext and the key as complex as possible. For example, by using the permutation and linear substitution, we are able to gain the diffusion property of the ciphertext. And by using the nonlinear substitution, what we are trying to gain is confusion. Well, the diffusion seeks to make statistical relationship between the plain text and the ciphertext as complex as possible, in order to thwart the attempts to deduce a key. Well, confusion seeks to make a relationship between ciphertext and the key as complex as possible. Again, to thwart attempts to discover the key. So successful are diffusion and confusion in capturing the essence of desired attributes of a block cipher that they have. They become to be the cornerstone of modern block cipher design. Just now we talked about FASTO cipher structure. Well, which FASTO it is? Take a look. FASTO network were first seen commercially in IBM Lucifer cipher. The name was Lucifer, designed by Horst Fassel and Don Coppersmith in 1973. Fassel networks gained respectability when the U.S. federal government adopted DES, which is short for implementing the crypto system in hardware easier. Well, this picture illustrates clearly about the the typical FASO cipher structure. That is how FASO structure encrypt the message and as well as decrypt the message. The first line you saw in this picture is encryption. The second is decryption. FASO cipher is based on the concept of invertible product cipher. Invertible product cipher means that we could do it in one direction as well as in another direction. Implements Shannon's ASP.NET concept. At the same time, FASO cipher processed through multiple rounds. How many rounds? Totally 16. 16 rounds. And for each round, first of all, partition input block into two halves. Let's see here. First of all, partition the input data into two halves, left and right. Then perform a substitution on left data half based on round function of last to right half with the subkey. F, the capital F is for round function. The capital K is for key, for subkey, See here. This is not the entire key. This is just the subkey. We have n subkeys from zero. Sorry, we have n plus 1 subkeys from 0 to n. Then have permutation swapping hubs. Swap the left and right. Well, most symmetric block cipher in current use are based on this structure, especially DES. FASO cipher design elements. The exact realization of FASO network depends on the choice of following parameters and design elements. They are block size, key size, number of round, subkey generation algorithm, round function, faster software for encryption and decryption, easy of analysis. As for block size, key size, when increasing the size of block and the size of key, we could improve the security of the system, but slows the cipher. That is to say, the longer block, the longer key, then the more secure system we have. However, the cipher turns to be very slow to operate. So block size and key size, we should make a balance between the security and efficiency. As for the classical FASO cipher, the block size is 64 bits. Well, the key size also 64. Number of rounds. Number of rounds. Increasing number of rounds improves security but slows the cipher. After a lot of research and testing, in the system of DES, there are 16 rounds. 16 rounds. Then sub-key generation algorithm. Algorithm greater complexity can make analysis harder but slows the cipher. To be honest, how to design an ideal block cipher such as DES or AES, as well as the key generation algorithm, is very difficult. There are always 2 points to be taken into consideration. One is security, another is efficiency. And always we should make a balance between efficiency and security. The size of the block and key should not too long, not too short, in order to find this balance point, as well as round, sub-key generation, and others, round function, the way to analysis. Round function, the same. Some of the algorithms ask not for invertible requirements, but some did. Faster software encryption and decryption, more recent concern for practical use. When they consider how to design a block cipher, modern block cipher, they should concern about the realization that operate in the 8-bit CPU or 16-bit CPU or 32 or 64-bit CPU. So as for the fast software and hardware encryption and decryption, we always take 8-bit CPU. Previous years ago, we consider 8 bits, 16, but now we consider 32 and 64. Realization. Well, this picture illustrates the deduction of FASTL cipher decryption. The first line shows encryption and second shows decryption. Well, perhaps very small letter, too small for you to see. It doesn't matter because you can use this picture. You can see this picture. Well, the process of decryption with the FASTL cipher, as is shown in this picture, is essentially the same as encryption process. You see that? You see that? The details of the structure in encryption and decryption are identical. Totally identical, So it's essentially the same as encryption process. The rule is as follows. See that? Left, right, right, left. Because the original input of the cipher text, put the right half on the left. We'll put then do it as follows. Use the ciphertext as input to the algorithm, but use the subkey in a reverse order. Pay attention to the key used. In the first round of decryption, the last subkey of the encryption system should be used. That is KN. Well, in the second round, KN minus 1. Then, until the first key of encryption K0 is used in the decryption as during the last round. So this is a nice feature because it means that we did not need to implement two different algorithms, one for encryption, another for decryption. No need. We just need only one algorithm for both encryption and decryption. Are you clear? This is a deduction of how it does in the decryption of FASO cipher. You can take a close look at it if you are fond of it. Now, just now we talked about FASO. Then another name is DES, Data Encryption Standard. And actually, DES function, DES algorithm is a new name of FASO. DES is adopted in the year of 1977 by NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the US. DES algorithm encrypts 64-bit data using 56-bit key. And it has widespread use. However, DES has been considerable controversy over its security. Well, this is the round function of DES. See here, designer IBM first expounded in 1975, but published in 1977, derived from Lucifer, which is based on FASO. Successors and the other details about the key size, block size, structure, balanced FASO network, round 16. All right, if you search for more details of DES online, such as Wikipedia, you may find more information. This picture illustrated the function, the FASO function of DES generally. Well, E yes, exactly. Well, I try my best to make it easier for you to understand. The capital E is for expansion. The capital E is for expansion, to prolong. The capital S for substitution. The capital P for permutation. All right, let's talk about the key schedule of DES. In the system of DES, it forms subkey using each round. That is to say, there is no one key that used in the DES, but 16 keys, because we have 16 rounds. In each round, we have different subkeys. So how to form the subkey, how to generate the subkey in each round, those are details. All right. If you feel hard to understand, it doesn't matter because it's very, how do you say, hard to be intelligible. In initial permutation of the key, which selects 56 bits in two 28-bit halves, then 16 stages consisting of rotating each half separately, either one or two places, depending on the key's rotation schedule. Then selecting 24 bits from each half and permuting then by PC2 permuted choice for use in each round. Well, just now about the key schedule. Now let's take a look at the decryption. Just as I mentioned, in the system of dash, we have just only one algorithm for both encryption and decryption. So decryption, just every single step within the description undo the same step, undo the another step in encryption. Am I clear? See that. Decrypt must unwind steps of data computation with FASO design. Do encryption steps again using subkey in reverse order. That is the way. That is the way. No need to find an invertible algorithm. No need, because we don't need to. What we should do to encrypt the message is to do the encryption steps again by using the subkey in reverse order from 16th to 1st. So see here from the first step of decryption. Initial permutation on dash, final permutation step of encryption. First round with SK16 on dash 16th encryption round. And blah, blah, blah. Thus recovering original data value through this way. Well, as you can see in this slide, avalanche effects. Avalanche effects is a desirable property of encryption algorithm. Well, a change of one input or key bits results in changing approximately half output bits. That is avalanche effect. Avalanche effect makes attempts to home in by guessing key impossible. That is, a very good property in any one block in a block cipher. In any block cipher. So dash algorithm exhibits strong avalanche effect. See here, if we just change one bit in plain text, then we're going to have 34 bits differs from the previous one in the ciphertext. This is the the modification of one bit in plain text cause almost half of the bits changed in the ciphertext. Well, a similar one, something that changed in the key, change in key. if we just change one bit in key, then we're gonna the previous ciphertext. So that is to say, if the change was small in either key or plaintext, this might provide a way to deduce the size of plaintext or key space to be searched. So dash exhibits a strong avalanche effect. Well, even if dash is one of the well-known and widely spread modern block cipher nowadays, but dash design has its controversy. We say controversy. Although dash is public and it was considerable controversy over its design for two reasons. The first reason is in choice of 56-bit key. Is it too short compared with Lucifer 128? 56, it's a little bit too short. So people are wondering about that. Another reason is because S-box design criteria were classified. It's not public, no one understand. From the file published by the NIST, there is no knowledge about S-box design criteria. So people know nothing about how it was designed. This is another controversy about DAS. However, subsequent events and public analysis show, in fact, design was appropriate. So now use of DAS has flourished, especially in financial applications, commercial applications, still standardized for legacy application use. All right. After DAS, we just talk about the cipher of DAS. Now we consider another block cipher named AES. AES is a clear replacement for DAS. Because DAS was published in the year of 1977, during almost 30 years usage, DAS was out of date. So people no longer believe that DAS is secure as possible. So the federal government thinks that it is necessary for them to find another replacement algorithm for DAS, which is AES. AES is potential. AES overcomes the potential vulnerability of DAS to brute force attack because AES has a respectively longer key size. The key size of AES is longer than DAS. Since we can use 3 DAS, triple DAS, or double DAS, but triple DAS is slow and has small blocks, too slow to operate. So the US NIST, National Institute for Standards and Technology, issued the call for cipher for AES cipher in the year of 1997. At the first round, there are 15 candidates accepted in June 1998. Last, there are only 5 was shortlisted in August 1999. Well, the best algorithm from Belgium, the name is Regional. The name is Regional. See here. From Belgium was selected as AES in October 2000 and issued as FIPS publication, a 9197 standard in November 2001. So these are AES requirements. Private key symmetric block cipher with 128-bit block with 128 or 192 or 256-bit keys. It's much more stronger and faster than triple DES. The active life of AES could reach 20 to 30 years. And it provides full specification and design details, both C and Java implementations, and NIST have released all submissions and unclassified analysis. All right, this is a short list of AES after testing and evaluation in August 1999. They are Mars from IBM, RC6 from US, Regional from Belgium, Serpent from Europe, Twofish from US. Regional become the final winner because it's very clean, fast, and good security. This is a quick look at the AES cipher. The regional proposal for AES define a cipher in which the block length and key length can be independently specified. The AES specification uses the same three key size alternatives, three different alternatives, but limited the block length to 128. Regional is an academic submission based on the earlier Square cipher. Look, it's not based on Festo. It's based on Square cipher. From Belgium, academics Dr. Damon and Dr. Raymond. So the name is Regional. It is an iterative cipher, operates on an entire data block in every round, rather than Festo operates on half at a time, and was designed to have characteristics of resistance, detail against all known attacks, speed and code, compactness on a wide range of platforms, design simplicity, and so on. Well, it's believed that AES is efficient and highly secure. AES are a series of exclusive OR with key, then scramble, permutates, block, repeated. Add run key stage is the only step which makes use of the key and obscure the result. Hence, it must be used at the start and end of each round. Otherwise, no effect of other steps. Here are four steps. Including byte substitution, shift rows, mixed columns, and key expansion that define in the cipher regional, that is AES. Okay. If you want to know more about AES, you can search something online, and I suggest Wikipedia. All right. So much we need to talk about, and just now we mentioned DES and AES, which are based on Festo and the Square cipher. A question is that in the system of symmetric key, we have a small piece of information. Whenever we want to use the cipher, the key should be selected before we use the cipher. So how do we deliver or distribute the key in advance is a very important issue we should consider. So in the system of key hierarchy, look, typically we have a hierarchy for keys: session key, master key. So we say session key is a temporary key that we should change frequently, and each session key for only one logical session, then discard. So we use session key for encryption data between users during logical sessions. However, we have another key named master key. The master key should be used to encrypt the session keys, and master key should be shared by users and a key distribution center for a long time. And the question is, how do we deliver that master key? Here are lifetime usage of session key. Session key includes data encrypting key, PIN, file encrypting key, and so on. So that is to say, session key is the key with some specific tag, key tag, and sometimes we define a control vector to connect it to the session key. However, every time we consider the distribution of the key, it becomes chick or egg question. So that is the way we should consider. Before the invention of public key system, there is no perfect way to solve that problem. There is no perfect way to solve the key distribution. Even if we have so many methods provided, A can select key physically delivered to B. Third party could be selected and deliver the key. Decentralized key control, centralized key control, and public key encryption. Well, before the invention of public key encryption, there is no perfect way. There is no perfect way to solve the key distribution issue. This is KDC. KDC is for Key Distributing Center. So the most fundamental problem of KDC is that every user in the KDC system should trust the KDC without any doubt. Am I right? So the most fundamental problem of KDC is the trust. There is no way to deliver the key if there is no trust between KDC and the users. So why public key cryptography? Why? Public key cryptography is invented or developed to focus on two issues. One is key distribution. Another one is digital signature. Okay, so how to securely communicate in general without having to trust a KDC, and how to verify a message comes intact from the client sender. In order to solve those two issues, we need to have public key. But before the invention, we don't have a perfect way. So we're going to have, I think, 10 minutes break. After 10 minutes break, we come back. Public key cryptography or public key cipher is probably most significant advance in the 3,000 years history of cryptography. Public key cryptography uses a pair of keys. One public key, one private key. So it's asymmetric. Asymmetric since parties are not equal. Sender and recipient, they are not equivalent. Security depends on number theoretic problems. So later we're going to explain these theoretic problems. Complements rather than replace private key. Look, because we have a pair of keys in our system, one public, one private. But for using the public key cryptography, we need to generate these pair of keys. A public key which may be known by anyone and can be used to encrypt messages, verify signatures. Another private key should be only known to the recipient, used to decrypt the message and assign the signature or create the signature. Pay attention here. We have a pair of keys. Then give the public key to the public. Everyone could know that. Keep the private key secret. Don't let others know your private key. So that is a way. That is the key point. It's asymmetric because those who create encrypted message or verify signatures cannot decrypt message or create signatures. That is easy in one direction, hard the reverse. So what we use is a function called one-way function. One-way function. Look, what is a kind of application of public key system? For one hand, the public key system could be used to realize encryption. For example, Bob find his public key. Bob takes out his public key to find Alice's public key. He used her public key to encrypt the message and send this ciphertext to Alice. Then Alice used her private key to decipher the message into plain text. So this is used for encryption. Public key to encipher, private key to decipher. Are you clear? But what is the problem? What is the problem? The problem is everyone, including the attacker, could use Alice's public key to send any messages to Alice. Is that right? That is to say, attacker could impersonate Bob to send something that is not from Bob to Alice. You're welcome. Let's move on. Another application is authentication. Well, Bob used his private key to encipher the message and send the ciphertext into Alice. Alice used Bob's public key to decipher the message into plain text. That is used for authentication because only Bob could generate this ciphertext by using his own private key. Only Bob could generate that ciphertext because Bob has his private key. So anyone who received this message knows that is from Bob. That is from Bob. However, in this application, the issue remains because everyone could read it. everyone could read it because everyone has Bob's public key. Is that right? First of all, use her private key to encrypt the message. Then Alice used Bob's public key to encipher again. Then send the ciphertext to Bob. Bob will use Bob will use his private key to decipher firstly. Then Bob used Alice's public key to decipher again. Are you clear? For sender used her private key to sign the message. Then sender will use recipient's public key to encrypt the message. As for recipient used his private key to decipher the message, then use her public key to check the signature. That is the way. All right, now public key applications can classify uses into 3 categories. 1, encryption, decryption, provide secrecy or confidentiality. 2, digital signature, provide authentication. But generally speaking, we use them both at the same time because we need both. Key exchange for session key, because we use the public key to encipher the session key. Some algorithms are suitable for all uses. Others are specific to one. Take a look. We have those public key algorithms, RSA, elliptic curve, ECC, Diffie-Hellman, DSS for digital signature. So RSA could realize encryption, decryption, digital signature, and key exchange. ECC, all right, the same as RSA. Diffie-Hellman could only provide key exchange. DSS, digital signature, could only provide signature. Well, here are characteristics of public key encryption. Public key algorithms rely on 2 factors. Either of the 2 related keys can be used for encryption. That is to say, we could use public key to encrypt. Either we could use the private key to encrypt, with the other used for decryption. If we use private key to encrypt, then we use the public key to decrypt. All right. It is computationally infeasible to find decryption key knowing only algorithm and encryption key. That is to say, if we know the algorithm for encryption as well as the public key, the algorithm and the encryption key, public key, could provide insufficient information for the decryption. That is one-way function. We could use the public key and algorithm to encrypt the message. However, only private key could decrypt it. Without knowing the right private key, we cannot find the original plain text. That is one-way function. It is computationally easy to decrypt or encrypt message when the relevant key is known. So easy to compute in one direction, hard the reverse. So after we are clear about the basic conception of public key encryption, now we'll just take a look at the example of RSA. RSA, 3 capital letters, was coming from the first letter of the inventors. R for Rivest, S for Shamir, A for Edelman. They comes from the USA. I think is IBM, yes, company. RSA now is an algorithm or standardization for public key. First of all, now pay attention because it's a little bit difficult to understand. Selecting 2 large primes at random, P and Q. Now compute their modulus. N. The N equals P times Q. P times Q. Note the Euler-Torrent function. Phi n equals P minus 1 times Q minus 1. Phi n defined as number of positive integers less than n and relatively prime to n. You don't actually need to know what phi n is, what the Euler-Torrent function is. You don't actually need to know. If you want to know more, you could actually go to the online information. So you just need to know the results of RSA, how we encrypt and how we decrypt and how we use it. Selecting at random the encryption key E. Then the E should be larger than 1, smaller, less than phi n. So following equation to find the decryption D, because they are reversed. E times D equals 1 mod phi n. Publish their public encryption key EN to public. Keep the secret private key DN. So E could be public. However, D should be secret. Am I clear? And what about N? What about N? The modulus. N public. Public. N for public as well. So after that, let's take a look at how we encrypt and decrypt. To encrypt a message M, the sender needs to calculate this. The ciphertext C equals M to the power of E mod N. Because we know E, we know N, we have M. So to calculate the C is very easy, as it shows. To decrypt the ciphertext C, the owner should calculate C to the power of D mod N. Then you have message. What makes very confidential is that what makes it very secure is that if you don't have D, you know N, you have ciphertext, you don't have the D, then it should be extremely difficult to conduct the message, as well as the detection of key, the decryption key, the private key. It's very hard. Notice that the message M must be smaller than the dot modulus if needed. Here is an example of our essay. For example, n is 17 times 11, 187. Compute phi n. P minus 1 times Q minus 1, that is 160. Then select E, let's say 1. Oh, so sorry. Let's say 7. 7. Then determine the D. D is 23 by calculation. Then publish the public key 7187 to public. Keep the private key 23187. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter part of this private key is known by the public because 187 is just a part of a private key known by everyone. However, 23, I mean, another part of private key should never given to anyone else. So keep it for a secret. Try to calculate the message. Try to calculate the ciphertext by using the message 88. Let's say 88 to the power of 7 mod 187. That is 11. 11 is ciphertext. Send the ciphertext to the recipient. Then he or she will calculate 11 to the times of 23 mod 187. That is 88. Is it amazing? It's really amazing. Yes, fantastic. Because mathematics is so wonderful. That is the point. And I want to tell you, what I want to tell you is that without knowing the private key, that is 23, without knowing the 23, it is impossible. It is impossible to get the message. Because it takes thousands of years to calculate the final key 23. It takes you thousands of years, as we just mentioned yesterday. Yes, that's right.
After World War II, with most of Europe in ruins,
to enjoy a video about the public key.
launch and successfully defend nuclear attacks from intercontinental ballistic missiles. In North America, the most vulnerable point of attack was over the North Pole. So in 1958, a joint effort between United States and Canada was established, known as NORAD, or North American Aerospace Defense Command. An important line of defense was the semi-automatic ground environment. It was an automated system of over 100 long-distance radars scattered across North America. They were connected to computerized radar stations that transmitted tracking data using telephone lines or radio waves. All of this radar information was fed into a primary warning center buried a mile deep inside Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado. This application of machine-to-machine communication allowed operators to make split-second decisions using information transmitted and processed automatically by computers. This idea of being online was quickly adapted and advanced by universities in the following years as they understood the potential of computer networking.
The thing that makes the computer communication network special is that it puts the workers, the team members who are geographically distributed, in touch not only with one another, but with the information base with which they work all the time. And this is obviously going to make a tremendous difference in how we plan, organize, and execute almost everything of any intellectual consequence. If we get into a mode in which everything is handled electronically and your only identification is some little plastic thing you stick into the machinery, then I can imagine that they want to get that settled up with your bank account just right now and put it through all the checks, and that would require a network.
Money transfers were just one of a growing number of applications which required encryption to remain secure. And as the internet grew to encompass millions around the world, a new problem emerged. At the time, encryption required two parties to first share a secret random number known as a key. So how could two people who have never met agree on a secret shared key without letting Eve, who is always listening, also obtain a copy? In 1976, Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman devised an amazing trick to do this. First, let's explore how this trick is done using colors. How could Alice and Bob agree on a secret color without Eve finding it out? The trick is based on two facts. One, it's easy to mix two colors together to make a third color. And two, given a mixed color, it's hard to reverse it in order to find the exact original colors. This is the basis for a lock. Easy in one direction, hard in the reverse direction. This is known as a one-way function. Now, the solution works as follows. First, they agree publicly on a starting color, say yellow. Next, Alice and Bob both randomly select private colors and mix them into the public yellow in order to disguise their private colors. Now, Alice keeps her private color and sends her mixture to Bob. And Bob keeps his private color and sends his mixture to Alice. Now the heart of the trick. Alice and Bob add their private colors to the other person's mixture and arrived at a shared secret color. Notice how Eve is unable to determine this exact color since she needs one of their private colors to do so. And that is the trick. Now, to do this with numbers, we need a numerical procedure, which is easy in one direction and hard in the other.
People always take a comparison between symmetric key and a public key. Some people said that because we have public key encryption, so we no longer need the symmetric key. Is that right? Yes, I can. Just send this video. Is that right?
Hello? Hello?
Encryption has only one key. Public key encryption has a pair of keys. Symmetric encryption, it's relatively faster than public key encryption. So that is why we use symmetric key to to encrypt our common messages. However, public key encryption is only used in the encryption of key. We use public key encryption to encrypt the session key as well as digital signature usage. So here's the comparison. Authentication for public key, rely on mathematical difficult problem, and for confidentiality, in authentication applications because it's very slow. Let's take a look at this question. What is fast?有个津巴布韦的人在说话。Basic use of hash function, similar to Mac. However, in the hash function usage, we don't have a key, and we no need to use the key. First of all, generate the hash value of a message, send them both to the recipient. Before sending the message as well as the hash value, all of them message hash value would be enciphered with a key. So A is for encryption plus hash code. B, let's take a look. B, calculate the hash value of the message. Encrypt in the hash value instead of encrypting all of the content. Then send the message together with the ciphertext of the hash value together to the recipient. Well, why should we do this? Why should we just encrypt the hash value instead of the home content, the message, the hash value? Why? Because security of MAC codes depending on security of hash code, and sometimes if the if the plain text is no need for security for confidentiality, then the message content could be public to everyone. But what we need is to authenticate the message. C, encrypt the hash value, sender's private key. Calculate the message hash value. Use the sender's private key to sign the hash value, send to the destination, then check the signature by using his public key. D, encrypt the results shelled secret key. First of all, sign the hash, then encrypt the message together with the hash, then send it. So in this way, in the D, in the method D, both confidentiality, authentication, message authentication, as well as the user authentication, all of them, and the message integrity, all of them could be provided. Choice for only authentication. Look, when confidentiality is not required, encryption to the entire message should be avoided. Just send the original message together with its hash, sign, and the signature is enough, because encryption software is very slow. It's slow. Encryption hardware costs are not negligible. And optimized encryption hardware mainly aimed at large size data. Encryption algorithm may be covered by patents. So if the confidentiality is not necessary, avoid to use the encryption because of those reasons. The MAC properties. MAC is a cryptographic checksum. It's a many-to-one function. And requirements of MAC. Requirements for hash functions. The message, hash value, the function, and one-way property, weak collision resistance, and strong collision resistance. All right. This is a general scheme for constructing a secure hash function. Now we shall go quickly. And hash function is totally based on an iterative structure, checksum structure. The hash function application 1 for digital signature, as we all know. Application 2 to generate fingerprints. Application 3 is for storing password. Application 4 for fast encryption. Hash function algorithms. The evolution of hash. Fixed password. What we should know is that in most of the firework in the company, most of the user's password should be stored in the system through hash. That is to say, store the password hash value instead of its own password. And sometimes, in order to withstand the replay attack, we need to add a sort value in the hash sort. So sort value is announced. Attacks and countermeasures of fixed password. That is verification code. Verification code is sort value. And the PIN number. Here are pictures of the application of our private key, public key, hash, and the token number, USB key, the storage of private key, signature, certificate, and so on. All right, the one-time password generated by the key, by the token, yes. Well,